Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for another podcast. My name's Isabel, and I'm the functional food ingredient sales representative at Barrington Nutritionals. And for today's episode, I'm excited to have the pleasure to speak with Dr. David Foreman, Herbal Pharmacist. David, how are you doing today?
Just living the dream. Thanks for doing this, Isabel. And I know this is outside your normal scope because of what you actually do for a living. So I appreciate you wanting to take time with me and have a discussion on what Barrington may have to offer for companies doing functional foods and beverages. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so typically the focus of our podcast has been with dietary supplements, but for this episode, we're going to discuss crossover ingredients for food and beverages. And I'd like to preface this episode by sharing what our definition is for functional food, because I know there's a lot of different definitions people have, and I think it's good to make that clear. So we are defining functional foods as food or beverage products containing additional health benefits through the addition of nutritional ingredients. So for example, cereals fortified with vitamin B6, B12, or folic acid, or orange juice with calcium or vitamin C. So David, to get things started, I'd like to know why you think we're seeing a market shift. Why do you think consumers are in search of new delivery vehicles of nutritional ingredients?
It's interesting. I've actually spoken at different conferences around the world and written a few papers that were along the lines of what you just asked. And the number one reason is that people have pill fatigue. I have pill fatigue. I'm one of these guys. I do practice what I preach. So I do have an arsenal of supplements I take, and there's not a whole lot of convenience. I joke that people get carpal tunnel from opening and closing their bottles. And so I think that's probably one of the biggest driving forces is that consumers we all have, I'm a consumer, so I'll just say we all have pill fatigue. And then you throw in that, over the last, decades, I've been in the natural health field for I feel old now, 25, 26 years. And, our lifestyles have changed a lot over that period of time too, Isabel. So, people are getting a little smarter on how to eat as well. And so, they're looking for new convenient ways to still get their supplementation, make it functional, meaning it actually does something for me as opposed to, taking just a whiff of a multivitamin, and we're looking for things that just plop right into our everyday life. So it's a lot easier. It'd be a lot easier if my supplements were in a beverage or in a food bar, or whatever, that I could grab and go and not have to, spend, no joke. I should have videoed it for this, but, it took me probably 3 or 4 minutes to open and close all the bottles and get my capsules out. And then, oh my God, try to choke them all down. And I don't do them one at a time. I literally do like a mini handful. So I think those are really the reasons that, we're seeing an expansion into your field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Having that fatigue of taking so many, and yeah, it does get overwhelming. I think another reason it's shifting this way is it's actually more sustainable to eat, one nutrient dense product, rather than taking a variety of supplements or eating a variety of foods. And I also think of plant-based alternatives gaining popularity. It's important for consumers to receive nutrients that are not naturally found in plant products like vitamin B12. And therefore, we're seeing, ingredients like this be incorporated into products like Beyond Meat. And then lastly, I think fortified foods is a response to health conscious consumers and those taking a more, holistic approach to their health.
Yeah, I mean, you gave a great example of, B12, and there's so many people that have gone vegan, and without them, a lot of people, unless they're super savvy, may not even realize that there's no plant-based B12. Another one of my favorites, as long as we're on this topic, is vitamin D. And people go, well, I live in Southern California. I play a lot of golf, but I actually do test my D levels, and 6 months ago, my D level was low. I was riding my bike an hour, 3-4 days a week, without a shirt on a trail near my house. I play a lot of golf. I play a lot of golf, but what people don't realize is that we're using sunscreen now, and we need the UV light to actually penetrate the skin to convert your cholesterol into vitamin D. So, that's why we have so many people that are vitamin D deficient. And, and that's, so there's this whole litany or arsenal of things that we don't realize that we're doing. We're trying to be healthier, plant-based diet, right? But at the same time, we're becoming nutrient deficient or amino acid deficient, which is nutrient anyway. So yeah, there's a lot of, I'm glad you brought that point up.
Yeah, and just for the audience to know, you live outside of San Diego, so if you're vitamin D deficient, imagine me living in Seattle.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. I wrote this article a couple of years ago on vitamin D deficiency, and I remember writing. I mean, this is probably maybe even 8 years ago, and I wrote. There was a line, if you drew it from Los Angeles to Columbia, South Carolina, you just literally drew a line straight across the map. Anybody below that, during the summer was probably needing like 2,000 units, and in the winter probably 5,000. Anybody above that line was actually probably needing 5,000 during sunny months. Wow. and up to 10,000. It was, and so you're right. Like, depending on where your geography is, then yeah, and you're right. Like me, I mean, come on, like it made no sense. I'm like, seriously, how much sunshine do I have to get? Anyway,
yeah.
So.
So at Barrington, just to give a couple more examples where we're seeing fortified foods. So, we're seeing ingredients like Sibelius sage being incorporated into beverages, and black seed oil being used in salad dressings, and inulin in bakery products, and etc. And so, I'm excited for products like fortified bakery products like bread. This is a market segment I didn't anticipate to see an overlap of fortifying ingredients. And so we're seeing, bread enriched with inulin as a source of prebiotic fiber, or legumes for protein. So I think it's really interesting with the type of products that are coming out of this new trend.
Yeah, and those are great examples. And the ingredients you mentioned, for people that aren't really familiar with them, I mean, the sage is not just the sage. It's funny when you're talking about foods and you talk about sage, people are thinking about the stuff that's in their, in their spice cabinet or spice rack in their kitchen. This is not your grandmother's sage. This is completely different. It comes from a unique farm in a very specific region. It's been compared through multiple forms of scientific analysis that it is not like all the other sages. And it has significant benefits for people that, are looking for that extra boost and being able to concentrate, focus, and memory. The black seed oil, thymoquin, patent pending. It's real. I had no idea people were adding it to salad oils. It makes so much sense because it does have a little bit of a thyme flavor to it. And there's so many benefits to that ingredient. It's probably one of my favorite ingredients in the whole portfolio that Barrington has, because there's so many applications to thymoquin.
Yeah. And it has a little bit of a pungency. So I made a salad dressing the other night and it was really good. I was surprised. We used a 1% thymoquinone, and it was nice.
I'm impressed. I do have to say,
I'll share the recipe with you. Yeah. On its own, it could be a little harsh, but when you mix it with apple cider vinegar and honey and other ingredients, garlic, it's palatable then.
And the thing is, if companies are considering what can we do for stability, thymoquin is also a pretty powerful antioxidant as well. So I know a lot of times things are getting added in, low levels of vitamin E, etc., to help shelf life, stability, whatever. And that's the cool thing about that ingredient as well, is that you're going to probably get a little more bang for your buck. I don't know about you, Isabel, I like getting more for my money. So anytime there's multiple applications to something, it's less money that I have to spend down the road. And it's better for me, not only financially, but health-wise as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So with more fortified foods and beverages entering the shelves as an herbal pharmacist, how will you determine the quality of a product? Will you seek out products with branded ingredients or have clinical evidence like thymoquin? Like, how do you, what's your criteria when you seek out a product?
When anybody approaches me with an ingredient, first question I ask is, do you have any studies? So for me, my original background, so yeah, I'm called the Herbal Pharmacist for a reason. One, I'm actually a pharmacist. I actually owned a drugstore for years, did real well with it, sold it. When I got really interested in natural medicine, became a naturopath. And so, in my first probably 8 years of my career, I only worked with botanicals. So i.e. the herbal pharmacist. And, now I'm across the board on the dietary supplements, but for me, clinical research, I want to see the studies that probably, goes back to my pharmacist days, why are studies so important for us? One, usually they'll do safety studies. So when we have an ingredient, we can know it's safe. We can know if I take X number of milligrams or this particular dose, this is the response I can expect. And this is how long it may take me to get the response. So clinical studies are really big. And even within that, I try to look for human clinical studies because there are an awful lot of studies done in animals. Sometimes you can't do a human clinical trial because for whatever factors, and I don't want to get overly deep on this. And then on top of that, I like companies that then have done more than just one. They're basically putting their money where their mouth is. That's probably, those are really the two big things. One, studies are study, and two, more studies. And then if they actually have trademarked the product or they filed for patents, in the case of Thymoquin, there's multiple patents pending at this point. And they don't just hand patents out. So when I see an ingredient that's patented, that raises the credibility bar to me that, one, the company took a little extra effort to prove to the governmental agencies that their ingredient is unique and why. And so those are really the big, and then of course, if somebody spends the money to trademark it, granted, that's not important for how great a product really works, but again, it just shows another level of commitment by a company to get behind their product.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I really liked your question to the CEO of Clutch Cognition during an interview you had with him. And you asked why he picked a beverage as a delivery vehicle for powerful cognitive ingredients like Sibelius sage. So I'm going to throw this question back at you. And what type of fortified foods or beverages make the most sense to you? Like, for instance, adding back inherent nutrients to products like vitamin C to orange juice, or adding prebiotics to yogurt for symbiotic health benefits, or fortifying food and beverages we regularly consume, just like water, like vitamin water.
I don't know if I have any favorites on fortifying foods. I feel like it really could go across the board. So you were talking about bread earlier. That was one that only probably 3 or 4 years ago people started. I mean, we've been fortifying stuff forever. I mean, I mean, when I was a kid, we'd see on a bag of flour, that they
rich,
because they stripped the fiber out and they stripped everything else out to make flour. They took the iron along with it. So then you could see things that were fortified with iron, fortified with B vitamins, and fortification in the old days mostly was because we stripped the food down and took those things out and we had to put them back in. Fortification changed years ago, maybe a decade or two ago, with fortification made things maybe healthier for you. So we started adding omega-3s to beverages. Started adding omega-3s to infant formulas, just because we knew that they were good for the brain, good for the eyes, good for so many different developmental things. For me as a consumer, if I could have a healthier salad dressing, that really, by the way, that did kind of get me fired up. I do have to tell you. I might be the mad, because I love to cook. I'm kind of a pseudo gourmet chef, and everything I make is from scratch. And I can see myself later today playing around in my kitchen now because of you, Isabel.
I'll send you the recipe after this.
That's cool. No, I'd love it. Yeah, I'm totally digging that whole idea. Now I just need to call Barrington and have them send me some raw material to play with instead of me opening up my Thymoquin capsules that I have here.
Oh gosh, yeah, liquid.
Yeah, that's the 3%. So that might be a little bit
Yeah, the 3% is not as powerful.
A little more pungent than I want.
Mhm.
But I'd like to see companies adding, we'll call them, for me, they're like sexier ingredients. I think everything we've talked about already isn't really sexy to me. I mean, B12, yeah, we've been doing that for a while. Some products have been adding D for a little while. One or two things that just came to my mind the other day when we talked was, why aren't we fortifying foods with magnesium? If people looked into the data behind magnesium deficiency, especially here in the US, but I know it's a global issue as well, the majority of people are magnesium deficient. It's a real simple test you can get done. I paid to have my magnesium levels checked, and I was happy because mine were fine. But that's also because I do take a magnesium supplement. So fat fortifying, and why would I want to do that? Well, one of the magnesium deficiency leads to muscle problems, headaches, stress problems, you name it, blood sugar control issues. And another one that's probably really should be popular right now because of the pandemic, and people's interest in immune products or immune health. Why not add zinc to a formulation? Granted, magnesium is a little hard on the flavor part. It's kind of a nasty, bitter tasting thing. But if, we're not necessarily looking at therapeutic doses in a fortified food necessarily. I don't want to limit myself to 2 slices. I don't eat bread normally, so I can't go there. But if I was eating bread, like, I don't want to have to limit myself because there's a ton of magnesium in there. Sorry about my cough there. But yeah, so I mean, for me, foods and beverages would be a great thing too. I mean, you've got to drink something. I've got a glass of water on my desk here. If I could have a fortified water, and that would be another wonderful thing for me, because we have to eat, we got to drink. So why not start adding things to the things we eat and drink to get an added benefit from it.
Oh, yeah.
Did I answer your question okay? I'm afraid I feel like I went around the world and back.
Oh, no, I think you did. I think you covered,
Okay,
you touched
very
upon
cool.
a lot of different points. For
Okay.
me, working for Barrington has really opened my eyes, and I'm way more cognizant of, what is on a nutritional label for my own personal health awareness, as well as for being a sales rep for functional food ingredients. And I'm always intrigued when I see a health claim on a food product, and I immediately look at the ingredient deck to see, what functional ingredients are being used. And like, for instance, if I see a claim for inflammation and the functional ingredient is curcumin, or aka the active ingredient in turmeric, I know, okay, thymoquin black seed oil could be used in a similar manner, because research shows that it is 2 times more powerful at fighting inflammation than curcumin. So, and then I'm seeing, magnesium on ingredient decks. And I actually had reached out to my professor when I first started, because I was seeing, a lot of Barrington's products like magnesium and calcium and zinc and a lot of different vitamins like vitamin C. And I was like, hey, how are these being used? Because I know there's a lot of different ways, like if it's being used for, as a thickening agent, as an antioxidant, as anti-caking, as acidity or buffering agent, or as a preservative. So it's interesting that there's so many different uses, and on top of it, of course, for health benefits too.
Yeah, like I was thinking the other day, I was actually talking to another person from Barrington, and I said, astaxanthin. We didn't talk about that. That's another. I mean, it's a super powerful antioxidant. It ranks probably as one of the elite antioxidants in the market. So there you get stability. Companies looking for a coloring agent. Astaxanthin is this bright red color. Oh yeah, and by the way, it doesn't take very many milligrams. So this is one of those ingredients, Astapure, that Barrington has, that could be easily added to make a very highly functional food. We're talking as little as probably like 4 milligrams, which isn't very much. There is there's a powdered version that could probably be used in a beverage. And again, you've got the antioxidant part of it. So there, you're helping with stability, you've got a coloring agent, and you're getting just amazing health benefits. For me, that's almost a home run right there, just with that ingredient alone.
Oh yeah, so many uses for just one product. It's awesome.
And wouldn't it be cool to be able to make a claim about your product, right? I mean, no, seriously. I mean, there aren't a lot of functional foods out there that can make a claim that it really does something for me. You mentioned the CEO of Clutch. I was so excited about him. Like, I've never done a YouTube video like that with a finished product company ever. I normally I don't ever get behind a finished product. I get behind the ingredients and that's it. And when I looked at the ingredients, I was really blown away because everything he did was scientific. I think there were 7 or 8 ingredients. They're all therapeutic doses, and they got them into a beverage that actually tastes good, and to me, and I'm glad to have people like you, Isabel, that are, trying to think and are thinking outside the box, trying to help companies really put together, foods that will improve my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's an exciting role. And yeah, I'm happy to be part of it and seeing all these new innovations come out, since it's like you said, functional foods have been around for a while, but I think we're seeing a lot more innovation occurring, and people are wanting to see different ways of fortification. And I'm working with some kombucha companies. They're wanting to add prebiotics. We've been aware of probiotics, and now we're seeing that symbiotic health benefit occurring. So yeah, I'm excited to see what comes.
Yeah, no, it's great. And yeah, I mean, I know yesterday we had a quick briefing or whatever, but we talked about yogurt. I mean, there's so many foods that are out there that you can encourage companies to add, to just take it up one more level. And for me, it's exciting as the science guy, but it's also exciting for me as a consumer, because there are foods that I may not have eaten before because I didn't think they were that healthy. But when we start adding these things in, I'm more likely to pull it off the shelf and use it, not just once in a while, but make it part of my daily lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, definitely. And I think on another note, just on a side note, I think it's important also not to be deceiving. If a product is claiming to be a meat alternative or a meat replacement, it should contain the same nutritional value as whatever the animal product is trying to mimic. So I think that's something else, and we're seeing more customers, wanting to incorporate vitamins and amino acids into their products because it's becoming a huge demand. And, this plant-based segment is growing more too. So just on a side note for consumers seeking products.
No, I think it's great. I mean, there's lots of good information shared today during this podcast. So I appreciate the opportunity. As you can tell, I get a little wound up on helping people with their health. So I'm definitely not lacking energy today.
Well, thank you, David. I think so. We're going to wrap things up, but before doing so, I'd like to remind our listeners that David and I are doing a series of episodes, so be sure to stay tuned. And this was a lot of fun, and I'm excited to dive into other food topics. So thank you for tuning in, and keep an eye out for our next episode.
Definitely. Thanks, Isabel. Have a good day.
David.